Welcome into Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by RightWager.com. Welcome into the show, Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by RightWager.com. It is Thursday, July 30th. And as I say, 30 days has September, April, June, and November. One more day we have to go before we flip it over to August. And we're usually talking a ton of NFL football, which actually we have a couple topics we like to get to today because an interesting, top 100 that was voted on by the players. Very odd. And sometimes you question the actual people that play the game. This is why maybe the AP votes for MVP and first team All-Pro and, who does what. We'll get into that and just a little bit more, but welcome to the show. Good day out here today. Not only because it's one step closer to August and one step closer to football season, but the NBA is returning today. You see the MLS soccer, they've had a lot of success. The bubbles are working. NHL getting underway with their scrimmages. Major League Baseball outside of the Marlins seems to be thriving with nobody else with any COVID-19 or coronavirus tests. So there is a lot of things that are good in the world today, sporting world, that we're certainly going to hit. A lot of topics set on the card. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit of, NBA action, the bubble returning, so maybe some future bets and some odds you can take a look at if you are into wagering in on the NBA. And I got to say, there's a lot of, it's a word I'm looking for here, a lot of interesting options that you might be looking at if you're going to take maybe a dog, because there is no home court advantage. Everything that we've talked about, everything that we've actually said, hey, you fight for the top spot in the NBA for a reason, because you want everything to go through you directly at home, which now might not be the case, or obviously isn't the case. So 7-game series is going to be playing on a neutral court. There's no fans. Both teams, it's not like, oh, man, they had to travel. We get the advantage. We get to sleep in our own beds. No, you're all in that compound down in Orlando. So a lot of things that are going to be shaken up, and maybe you can get some value with some different basketball teams heading into it. One, certainly looking at my 76ers, but let's get into it. Talk a little bit of hot topics today. Get the show kicked off in style. These are your Sports Betting with Donnie hot topics of the day. NBA in the bubble today gets back underway. We saw the scrimmages. Everything looks like it's going as planned. The court looks cool. You have the LED boards all wrapped around, the players social distancing on the sideline, cheering for their fellow competitors on the court. But today we get back to business. Now, when we say we get back to business, maybe the business of the NBA trying to make money, because the first game on the card tonight, 6:30 p.m. Eastern time, that is the Utah Jazz and the New Orleans Pelicans, waiting for Zion, who's been away from the bubble, who had to come back in quarantine, now only a couple practices. The reason why we set the bubble up, or the NBA set the bubble up, is to get these added TV revenue targets hit, where most of the teams can complete their NBA season, their obligations to TV, then head into the playoffs and continue that money stream coming in. Now, looking at the overall card tonight, 701, 702, 703, 704, simple in the rotation. First game, the Pelicans are favored by 3 points. Opened up at, looks like, early, and some of these are early on, because obviously these lines have been up for a couple weeks now in anticipation. Chris opened those lines at -1.5. Let me see when that actually was, or how far back that was. Wow, all the way back a full month ago, that line actually came out as a favorite for the Utah Jazz, -1.5. But of course, that has swung now. Chris, who opened, as we said, at 1.5 over to -3. And if we're taking a look at Pinnacle, they opened at -2.5 as a Pelicans favorite, maybe waited a little bit longer, and that now sits at 3. So taking a look going across the board, 220 opened up as a total at Pinnacle, 218 at Chris. Those numbers have significantly gone higher. And if we take a look at that Chris opening line, as many as 7 or 8 points higher, and about 4.5 points higher on the Utah game. So good stuff going on the court tonight. It'll be interesting to watch, but not a lot on the line. I guess if you're saying that the Pelicans want to sneak into the playoffs, that's important. But the headline game that's going to be looked at tonight, obviously, is the Clippers and the Lakers, 9 o'clock. And I got to say, yesterday, if you follow me on Twitter at RightSideVP, looking at these matchups, it's a shame that the NBA didn't have like a Christmas type atmosphere today. Now you say, hey, look, give it a day, Donnie. They want to get on prime time. They want all eyes focused on just a few games, make sure it goes right. I get it, because tomorrow I'm looking at the card on Friday. 2:30 game tips off between the Orlando Magic and the Brooklyn Nets. 4 o'clock game between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Portland Trailblazers. Actually, a doubleheader at 4 o'clock. The Suns and also the Wizards go head to head. Boston and also the Milwaukee Bucks at 6:30. Then some staggered games a little bit later that night or tomorrow night with the Kings and Spurs at 8 o'clock and the Houston Rockets and Dallas Mavericks getting under at 9 o'clock. So that's some good stuff off the way. But also keep in mind, the show is called Sports Betting with Donnie. A lot of times my capping, overall legitimate capping, is going to come later in the day with different shows I do on different networks and channels. But I got to say, like some PSAs that pop up, and everybody can use free money. And I'm not a proponent to using a certain sports book or locked into one. I use 5 Dimes Offshore. I have a local that I use. And also I love to support the New Jersey legal sports books because they do great things. I like FanDuel. I like, DraftKings. Some of the odds are a little bit squirrely when you're betting baseball, where maybe it's not 10-cent lines like you can get offshore with 5 Dimes. But every once in a while, they do some things to try to bring in the common gambler, and they do some things really well. And it's cheap to do. They're not guaranteed winners, but they sort of seem like it at times. Like last week, you guys know I'm not the biggest Tiger Woods fan, but they had I believe this one also, because the one I'm going to talk about is FanDuel today. I think it was FanDuel also the week before, but their maximum bets of only $50, which doesn't sound like a lot, but who can't use extra money at times, especially in these times? The one was Tiger Woods to make the cut, the original line, and I believe it was FanDuel, yes, because I know Pat McAfee was retweeting it out. Minus 450 for Tiger Woods to make the cut a couple weeks back when he last played. They gave you an odds boost of plus 100. So, I mean, it seemed, and it almost came right down to the end where he needed some, Tiger Woods to birdie 2 out of the last 3 holes on day 2, and a couple guys collapsed to get in. But it ended up getting home, and it was $50. Well, you can't bet 10. It's not what it's designed for. They're just little promotions to get people who maybe have never gambled before use their service to chime in. But I always use those services, and it's great that they're not one-time fees or one-time things that you used it up, you use the Tiger Woods ones, you can't do it again. But another one today is with the Los Angeles Lakers with the odds boost. And let me see if I can actually bring this up here while we're looking at it. Let's see here. All right, let's go full screen on this one and take a look. That's the odds we're going to look at in just a few moments with the NBA. But this is FanDuel to get a look at the book. Let's go NBA and more bets, better odds. Let's see if this one goes through. I already bet it. So come on. Can we just show it up here of what it actually is? Not sure. Maybe boosts. Let's try that here. Rising boost, LeBron James, Donovan Mitchell, odds boost. It doesn't show it up here, but I don't know why it's not doing that. Let's see if we can flip a couple screens over to see what it has. No, it doesn't look like it. But before we got on, it was already up to, I believe, 13 points in the boost and the promotion for the NBA tonight in the spread the love Lakers game versus the Clippers. And I don't know why it's not telling you. Let's see if we could bet it now what it is. Does that do anything? There it is. Yep, right there. See that right there on the screen? Plus 13 right now. And if another 1,381 people chime in on this, then it moves to 14. And keep in mind, the Lakers today are minus 4.5 with a total of 215. So if you guys are out there, and again, I don't get any money for this whatsoever, but I like to look out for it. I know a lot of my friends personally use DraftKings, use FanDuel. Sometimes they're not paying attention. You say, hey, man, look. And it's not a guaranteed win, but it's going to be all day long. So, and I mean, I even put out I think it might even get up to plus 20 for the Lakers. And again, it's only a maximum bet that you would have on this game of $50. But if you deposit $50, win $50, cash it out, that's a couple pizzas and wings for the weekend for free. You didn't do anything. So, I mean, just something interesting to look at here for opening night in the bubble. If you guys wanted to play a little bit extra, just have some fun, because I'm not an NBA gambler. I'm not an NBA handicapper. But my goodness, if you're going to show something up here that's going to give me absolute free money or $50 or a great shot at, who's not going to do that? This isn't like, hey, we'll give you free 2 points or buy a point. Minus 4.5 to maybe plus 20 in the Lakers' favor. I mean, honest, man, I'm going to take that all day long. So that's just always something that we can take a look at and look. But hey, the bubble's back in the NBA. It gets under for real. If this was game 1 of the NBA season, I might be a little bit excited, might catch the Sixers, but then fade away for a couple months until it actually heats up again. But this is prime time, man. They're in a sprint to get to the playoffs, and then we're going to settle in and crown an NBA championship. So obviously, that's going to be a good thing to look at. Now, taking a look at the NBA odds to win the 2020 championship. Let's bring it right back up here and check it out. And again, if for some reason yesterday I lost, audio while I was doing this, if I'm losing audio again right now, please let me know. Send me a link, send me a hey, because right now I don't have it. I have the YouTube up right now, so I can see the chat comments if it is having an issue, but I don't think we're having that issue. I know it was a minor technical difficulty that I did have. But if we take a look here at the NBA, click on some futures that we'll take a look at. All right, once that pops up, and see what the NBA is offering. Again, so it's just to keep it simple here. I don't want to flip around to 19 sports books, end up knocking myself online on StreamYard here. But just having a look here, Milwaukee Bucks plus 240, Lakers plus 260, Clippers plus 320. And obviously you say, well, hey, I thought the Lakers and the Clippers are the best teams and they should win it. Well, I mean, one of those is going to get knocked out. So that's why the Lakers sitting here at plus 260 and the Clippers sitting here at 320 aren't a little bit better, because if you flipped it over and put the Bucks over here in the Western Conference and the Lakers were in the East, obviously the Lakers would be a prohibitive favorite. But in order to win a championship, yes, you have to make the finals. That's why the Bucks are favored, because they are most likely to come out of the East. Obviously, if you take a look at the Bucks plus 240, Celtics at 1,800, the Sixers at plus 2,000, Raptors at 2,000, Miami Heat at 3,300. So maybe some shots that people want to take a look at and, get after. But to me, I mean, look, again, this is coming from a guy that's not a hardcore betting handicapper in the NBA. Maybe lean towards the Lakers, but obviously there's a couple key missing pieces that they have. Rajon Rondo goes down. Avery Bradley decides not to show up. And then you take a look at the Clippers of what they're going through right now. Three key components in their lineup, right? Patrick Beverley, Montrezl Harrell, and also Lou Williams eating wings up in Magic City. They're going to be out for this game, but anticipating that they're going to come back and be healthy for the playoffs, those two teams should be able to get at it. And, maybe the Houston Rockets, Westbrook, and James Harden get hot, so maybe it's worthy a flyer of 1,700 if they can knock those two out. But obviously the path in the West is much harder than the path in the East. And, hey, look, the best coach in the East to me, obviously, is Boston Celtics, Brad Stevens at plus 1,800. They can do some damage. The 76ers, a supremely talented team, but, rudderless with their head coach, with Brett Brown, an absolute disaster. So it's kind of a shame, because if you're looking from a Sixers perspective, say, hey, man, 20-1, that's a pretty nice number that you can actually feed into and get. But if we're looking overall, you're going to be outcoached here by the Milwaukee Bucks. You're going to be outcoached here by the Celtics. You're going to be outcoached here by Nick Nurse and the Raptors. You're going to be outcoached by Spoelstra and the Miami Heat. So every time you take the court, even though your starting five is really talented for the 76ers, come on, man. We're getting outcoached each and every night. And that's what certainly is going to make it tough. But it's good to look at, right? Finally got it really back, because I know I've done shows. Jay Money does a show on Sportsbook Review. Jamming with Jay. I don't know what time it comes on. I think it might come on noon, like right after the show on Sportsbook Review. Teddy Covers on that show. Junior Brown's on that show. Sharp's on that show. So there's a lot of good stuff going around where you can catch and get some of these, really good handicappers. But they've all been looking at these games for months, since it collapsed in March, April, May, June, and July. Now you finally get to see it play out on the court. And that's always interesting. And I do like that. But I did want to hit the NBA. We'll be looking forward to it. Probably how about the ratings tonight? 6:30 tonight. Hopefully Zion does play. Big ratings just to see it back. But everybody wants to see the Lakers and the Clippers, even though theoretically the game really doesn't matter, as I said. Maybe if you were jockeying for home court advantage with your fans, yeah, they'd be interested. Do they still want to play and put on a performance and be like, hey, we're back? Of course they do, man. They know the spotlight's on them tonight. They really do. So something to keep an eye on. But if you're looking again, if you caught the show late, just went over a couple minutes with FanDuel, get that free $50 in there, man. Get the couple pizzas, get the wings, maybe go out and get a couple drinks at the store, bring it home, and watch the rest of the weekend on the house. Should be an easy one. Having said that, watch the Clippers like 121-87 victory. I'm like, my God, Donnie, thanks so much for that. We really appreciate it. So it is what it is, but we'll be back in a minute here, and we are going to tackle some some issues with Major League Baseball, and also hit over an interesting list in the NFL that doesn't make too much sense. Hey guys, Donnie here with RightWager.com, your handicapping home on the internet. As you know, we specialize in NFL, Major League Baseball, and NCAA hoops. And as always, we are 100% verified on third-party CapperTech.com. If you are a gambler, this is your place to be. Affordable packages, 1 day, 7 days, 30 days, 6 months, and even up to a year. Also, when you stop by the site, you'll notice sports content right here with the live broadcast home of Sports Betting with Donnie. There is no better place to be in the handicapper community than RightWager.com. And as always, I like to say, what side are you on? Hey, rightwager.com, getting our Major League Baseball underway August 15th. We'll let it settle in. Let things happen. Last night on my Sportsbook Review show with Jason Radowitz that we film every day live, 1:30 on sportsbookreview.com or the YouTube channel at SPR Sports Picks. Came up a little bit lame last night with my Milwaukee Brewers pick over 4.5. Got 3 runs. Got a guy thrown out the plate. Christian Yelich is, I don't know what the heck Christian Yelich is doing this year, like 1 for 3,000 to start the season. He had a guy on third with 1 out and promptly struck out at the plate. I think he struck out like 7 times last night in all, it seemed like. But anyway, we're going to have a pretty good time here in Major League Baseball, but we are underway August 15th. I'll have all the numbers I need to kick ass the rest of the season and certainly put more money in you guys' pockets out here. But let's get to Major League Baseball here. I put out a video yesterday. Shout out Pub Sports Radio and all the good things they do. If you haven't given Pub Sports Radio a follow yet, I do a hot topic video each and every day. My yesterday hot topic was coming out of Philadelphia, talking about what's going to take place this weekend. And of course, like me being a Philadelphia fan, everybody else, look at you guys out here watching. I don't know where you're watching from, California, Texas, wherever your squad is. I'm pretty sure your squad is not the Miami Marlins since they have like 3 fans combined. But I'm a Philadelphia Phillies fan. And it's so COVID-19 coronavirus-ish that everybody's getting to have fun in Major League Baseball but the Philadelphia Philly fans. We get knocked down for a 3-game series by the COVID-19 Marlins and then have to sit out an entire week till Saturday while everybody's still allowed to play except for us and the COVID Marlins. So we wait finally, sports are back in Philadelphia. We love our sports. We love our Phillies. And we have to sit out the entire week again because of the COVID-19 Marlins. But now you see some stuff coming out, and this doesn't make much sense. Major League Baseball, they're doing a really good job outside of the Marlins. Outside of the Marlins organization, baseball has done a fantastic job in testing, protocols, everybody taking it serious, except the Marlins, who are young, and each guy on the team makes $3, so they don't care if the season gets canceled. So they go out to strip clubs and get COVID-19 and basically get canceled until at least Monday, we have to field like a brand new baseball team overall. Now, looking at, you see the tagline at the bottom of the screen here, MLB 7-inning doubleheaders. The theory behind this is, well, if we're going to have doubleheaders, we want to limit the exposure between players and, we'll keep it to 7 innings. So why are doubleheaders even allowed in Major League Baseball then? So if you're worried about playing a 9-inning baseball game, shouldn't you be worried about, why would you even allow it to go 14 innings anyway? 7 and 7. They're already there. The protocols are already in place. The guys should be tested, unlike the Marlins, who wait 48 hours to get their tested back, and social distancing being in an outside ballpark. What's the difference in being these guys with 7 innings and 7 innings or 9 innings and 9 innings? The 2 teams are separated. The only guys, I guess, theoretically would be the batter in the box and the catcher from the other organization. They're probably the closest, or, first base when you get on, because you don't really hold a guy on second base or third base. So maybe those guys should be wearing masks. But outside of that, tell me what the difference is. What is the difference here? Well, thanks for checking in, Chad Williams there. Got Matthew Lawrence. The Giants may suck, but you Shrimpsky's a stud. Yeah, look at the Giants, Hey, maybe future. It is an even year, too, 2020. So you figured the Giants would be good based on the past history. But it doesn't look like that's certainly going to be the case this year. But getting back to the 7 innings, 7 and 7. Why not just say, because I know they want to get batting practice in. Why doesn't Major League play a 9-inning game like you're supposed to, both first game and second game? But maybe the players can't show up the extra hour early for extra batting practice. And that will limit the damage and save you, because 4 innings take maybe about an hour. I don't understand the shortage of, we're going to be extra cautious by having, you're still there in the ballpark. Just because you played 7 innings and 7 innings instead of 9 and 9, that somehow limits the damage and limits the exposure. I don't understand that. But yet in Major League Baseball, we're going to go to a city. We're going to have a flip 2-2 series, right? So you see it all across. Let's just take a look at the Mets and the Boston Red Sox. Hey, Mets, go up to Boston and play 2 games. Then we're going to fly the same teams to New York and play 2 more games. Why aren't you just playing all 4 in Boston? There's no fans. And flip home field. First 2 games, the Boston Red Sox are home. The second 2 games, the Mets are home. Or just flip it even. 1 game home, 1 game away, 1 game home, 1 game away. And also in a time where you're saying you're hemorrhaging money, it limits your travel expenses as well. Who didn't see this coming? When you set the 60-game schedule, why didn't you see this coming? Wipe down 1 weekend. So the Yankees don't have to come to Philadelphia and then go back to New York, which you're going to try to plan on doing again, which is insanity. It doesn't make sense. Like, you're trying to cover one way to another, but then you're doing things that don't make any sense. And also watching out here, taking a look at, let's just say, the one I like to rail on the best because it's just thievery. It's absolute thievery from these teams, like the Marlins down in South Florida. Dome, retractable. Houston Astros, dome, retractable. Texas Rangers, dome, retractable. I mean, what's going on here? Let's see. I'm watching on YouTube as well. For some reason, I have a little bit of broadcasting, but everything seems to be up and running on the other stuff right now, including my video here. So hopefully that clears up and you get a better picture. Maybe I look a little bit better, actually, on that screen, huh? Think I look a little bit better when it's all real muggy and nasty on YouTube. So hopefully that works out right here. Chad Williams says this is pretty much what Toronto is doing. I mean, yeah, because also when you're taking a look at the travel aspect of it as well, it's not so much saying you're going to a different city and you might contract something. The thing that we worry about overall is when you're riding on that tin can with 50 guys on the plane, there's no fresh air in the cabin. Hey, maybe you each one guy per row, but if you sneeze, you're blasting that into the cabin all the way up and back. Don't you want to limit that as much as you possibly can? 7-inning doubleheaders. Now, if you want to take a look and you have dominant pitching, you would want 7 innings the rest of the year like it was Little League out here. Who's not going to want to say, hey, let's go 7 innings. Let me get DeGrom. Yeah, he's just going to go 7 innings, bullpen gets a break, and he gives up 1 earned run or no earned runs or throws a no-hitter through 6. That's coming. Or no-hitter through 7, excuse me. Max Scherzer. Who wants to go to 7 innings the remainder of the year? Washington Nationals. Hey, our bats stink, but you know what? If I can run Mad Max out there, Corbin, and also Strasburg for 7-inning shots, maybe I need a closer and that's it. I don't have to worry about any of my 19 relievers. I understand what baseball is trying to do and maybe curry public favor in that aspect, but it doesn't make sense to have 7-inning doubleheaders. And if you're coming at it with the angle of saying, hey, let's contact. I mean, I understand that, but you're already out there anyway. It's the same thing like, sometimes with teachers going back to school and don't want to teach. Well, we'll only do 3 days in, 2 days off. If you're doing 3 days in, what's the point of not doing 5 days in? You're around the kids anyway. If you're going to get it, you're going to get it. If you're not taking the proper protocols, social distancing, washing your hands and sanitizing, you're going to get it anyway. So if we're going to be all aloof as a society here, and Major League Baseball is trying to be as aloof as possible with retractable roofs being closed and double headers when you don't want that to take place, and the Marlins just running roughshod. We'll see if the Marlins get back, because they're planning, I believe, to get back on Monday. I think Monday is the target date for when they're looking. Now, the Philadelphia Phillies, they're going to have the Toronto Blue Jays, Toronto Blue Jays again down in Washington, the quote-unquote home team. Toronto's going to move on to Philadelphia for the weekend and play 2 games on Saturday, and that's why we're talking about the 7-inning doubleheader, and then 1 game on Sunday. I believe the doubleheader starts on Saturday at 3:07, and then also the Sunday afternoon game also at 3 o'clock. Push back a little bit because obviously you play a doubleheader the day before. You want to give extra time, extra rest for those players as much as possible before they get out of town. But it's something interesting, and also from a betting perspective and a betting angle with that game. The first 5, are you going to have a first 5 wager if the game only goes 7? And what's the total going to look like? So you're shaving, 2 innings off of the game. So if the over-under was 9, maybe you get a 7.5 in that type of aspect. Does the official game move up a little bit further where it doesn't have to go through, the 4.5 innings or the 5 innings? Does that actually get moved up? There's a lot of determining factors that we can certainly, take a look at and what makes sense in this. Yeah, Kyle Honey said DeGrom and Cole would dominate. You would think so, right? Yeah, Ray Yerg says clowns would be clowns. Taylor 87 settle in. What's good? Yeah, what's good with everything out here, man? But it's just wild to see Major League Baseball take a turn and really flying by the seat of their pants. And just talking about how lucky we were that the Philadelphia Phillies didn't actually test positive. Because what happens if the Philadelphia Phillies test positive? At least one guy with the Marlins. Maybe baseball shuts down for good for 2 weeks and redoes it. But shutting down baseball is not going to prevent any more people from getting COVID-19. There's going to be other baseball teams that get COVID-19. But the fact that when you're supposed to test each and every day to remove that guy, you don't allow the widespread outbreak that could take place. And that's what all the issues are that are taking place here in Major League Baseball. Going to pause for a minute here, be right back. We're going to shift gears and talk a little bit of NFL and that top 100 list, which is ridiculous, man. Hey guys, Donnie here. Let me tell you a little bit about pubsportsradio.com. It's not just all about sports. If you like the latest in movie culture, check out the Film Room live on their YouTube channel. And also, if you like to get down, listen to a little bit of music, and certainly talk about some of the latest hits out and also some classics, check out Turn Up the Treble. But guys, I gotta tell you, if it's drinks that you're looking for, if you're thirsty, check out Southtown 101 tequila, beer, vodka, and all your favorite spirits located right here at Southtown 101. But if you're hungry and you're in the mood for some burgers, wings, mozzarella sticks, and much, much more, Southtown 101 has you covered. Come check us out right here, Southtown 101, in the heart of San Antonio, located on 101 Pereida Street. PubSportsRadio.com has it all for you. Food, drinks, music, movie culture, and sports. Welcome back into Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by RightWager.com. You guys have been so kind out here. The channel is steadily growing each and every day. I'm looking below right there to Sports Betting with Donnie, underneath 399 subscribers. We are almost to 400. So if you're watching now live, if you're watching now back on an instant replay, please hit the subscribe button if you have not done so yet. Trying to build this channel. We'll turn it into 400. We'll turn it into 500. We'll turn it into 1,000, 10,000. We'll take this thing all the way as we certainly improve and get sports back underway. So I do want to thank you for watching on Facebook, if you're watching on Twitch, Periscope, and also, yes, right here on our home on YouTube. I do appreciate all the likes and the comments and you guys checking the show out. Back to the NFL here. Lamar Jackson. Now, I'm not going to bring this up on the screen, but I do have the list on one of my monitors here that's listed. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up, because it's fun to talk about football. Yeah, football's happening, man. Football's happening right now. Teams reported the training camp. Now, you're not going to see a lot of football because, A, there's no preseason games, and B, it doesn't look like they're actually going to have a practice until like 3 weeks down the road. So who knows how sloppy we're going to look come September 10th when the world champion Kansas City Chiefs come into play with nobody in the stands. Man, that crowd will be ripped. And again, you feel a little bit cheated, don't you? I mean, at least Kansas City, you won the Super Bowl. You got to have your parade. Things shut down shortly after that. But it's always fun. It's always a fun night back when you win the Super Bowl. And hey, having said that, I know you guys can probably see in the background just up there. That's a Lombardi trophy that my Philadelphia Eagles won a couple years ago. We actually got to play Atlanta home that night. And watching them play Atlanta home that night, picking up the victory was glorious. You raised the banner. There was like an hour rain delay, I believe, before the game. But it's always nice to celebrate in front of your people. You bring the trophy out. That team gets one last respected blast from the crowd before they kick off their venture on trying to have a repeat. You're not going to get that in Kansas City. And that's a shame because Kansas City's a pretty cool place with all the tailgating, obviously, but one of the more electric atmospheres in football. They would have been cranked up opening night to get that season underway. But looking at the actual players list of the top 100 players of 2020. Keep in mind also, with the top 100 players of 2020, this was voted on by the players, not the AP that usually does it or the beat writers that, pretty much watch over football. Because when you ask, and one of the more funny things in football that was always taking place over the past 30, 40 years was the AP poll in college football. Not the AP poll, the coaches poll in college football. Coaches barely even lift their head out of the sand to see if it's raining outside. And they're going to be expected to vote on the top 20 in college football that they've never seen anybody but their opponent play the following week. That was always a good one. Then you found out that, the head coach was handing it to like the grad assistant or some team intern that was just filling it out for him, and he was submitting it in. That farce. And they always shaded Miami back in the 90s too. Like, come on, man, we're really going to split a title with Washington. Smoke Washington, stop it. But that's neither here nor near there. Number one player on this list, Lamar Jackson. Exciting player, great Madden player, great football player, MVP. I get it. I get Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson doesn't deserve to be number one overall in this players poll in 2020. He's not the best overall football player in the league. There's a guy that just got $500 million and won a Super Bowl. He is the best player in football. And I don't know if it's a friend thing or some people didn't vote or didn't take it serious. But Patrick Mahomes comes in at number 4 on this list. Number 4 on this list. That's egregious. If you're starting a football team right now in 2020 of the number 1 overall pick, you can pick anybody in the NFL. Are people really picking Lamar Jackson? Oh, look, I like Lamar Jackson's a great dude, man. Says all the right things, head in the game. You root for him out there. He's electric on the football field. He's everything you like in a football player, from a leadership standpoint to his attitude towards playing with his teammates to performance on the field. He's awesome. But Patrick Mahomes is on a different level. Like, if you have Patrick Mahomes, it almost doesn't, like, just as long as you have a little bit of speed out here, right? A little bit of speed. That's all that makes sense. That's all that makes sense. And Low Ken's typing in here, are you going to stream? We're live right now, boss. You're live. You're watching. We're in here, bro. Come on. Come in and have some fun with us. We're here. Ray Urich says, players just jealous of Mahomes and must hate Wentz. Yeah, no, I'm getting to that. Don't you worry. There's an Eagles rant coming in here in just a few moments. But I want to take a look overall what this list in the top 5 is. Lamar Jackson 1, Russell Wilson. I love Russell Wilson. And if they would have put Russell Wilson number 1, I actually wouldn't have had any issue with that whatsoever. Because he's more important to his team than any single player in the National Football League, bar none. Seattle stinks if they don't have Russell Wilson. Kansas City's probably a decent football team because they have a lot of talent and a really good head coach and a great offensive scheme. I think they would be okay. But Russell Wilson is worth his weight in gold. Russell Wilson should have got a $500 million contract for what he's done for the Seattle Seahawks. One of my favorite football players of all time. Number 3, Aaron Donald. Come on now. Like, Aaron Donald's a better football player than Patrick Mahomes. Like, you would rather have Aaron. Like, I'm going to start a team. I want a dominant defensive tackle. It's going to be Aaron Donald? Dude, come on, man. I'm serious with this. I'm serious. Yeah, Ray Urich is right. Look at this. Ray's right. 49. I agree. I think you should go to 51%. But we go all the way down the list on this. I love Michael Thomas. I love Christian McCaffrey, 6 and 7. DeAndre Hopkins, 8. Gilmore, 9. Derrick Henry's 10. Like, Derrick Henry is voted higher than, like, a Drew Brees, even though I can't. And you guys, look, I'm a Drew Brees hater. I hate Drew Brees. Come on now. Like, Tom Brady, who was very average last year, he's 14? Like, how's he 14? He should be way lower than that. I'm taking Von Miller over Tom Brady. Maybe it's just a hate coming out. Me too. Mike Evans down at 30. Look, Quentin Nelson's 29, the best guard in football. Oh, he's a guard down. He can't be up that high. Jamal Adams, 27th. Like, Jamal Adams is 27th. And here's where we're going to start to get into this nonsense. I love Jamal Adams. He's fantastic. He's a safety. Jamal Adams is a safety. And as I keep scrolling down, you know where I'm going with this. Chris Godwin is a great wide receiver. He's 38th. Tyrann Mathieu is a great safety, but he's a safety. He's 39th. J.J. Watt's 45th. He's a great player. Like Dak Prescott. I don't like the Dallas Cowboys, but I can respect Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is more important to his team than Tyrann Mathieu is as a top 100 player. You keep scrolling down like, oh, my head's going to explode seeing this one here. 51 on the list is Todd Gurley with one leg. Todd Gurley 3 years ago, yeah, move him up the list. Todd Gurley is 51. 51. Carson Wentz isn't even on the list. So Todd Gurley is a better football player than Carson Wentz, who had nothing last year and beat Dak Prescott and the Cowboys to win the division last year with practice squad wide receivers. Remember in the last game, we have to win it? No, Zach Ertz, practice squad wide receivers. Miles Sanders gets hurt. You got Boston Scott as your lead back, and you're telling me that he's at least 50 spots higher? Kirk Cousins, who can't do jack out here? Logan Ryan is more important or better than Carson Wentz? Jarrell Casey at 71 is more important than a guy like Carson Wentz or a better football player? Whew. Where do I even end up? Josh Allen's 87. Josh Allen's better than Carson Wentz. I mean, what do these people watch? It's not just me being an Eagles fan. I'm trying to be realistic here. Chris Carson is 96. a running back in a committee, is a better football player than Carson Wentz. Darren Waller is on this list at 99. He's better than Carson Wentz? What the hell's... Oh, yeah, but where did my brother Philip land? He's not, doesn't look like he's on the list here. He shouldn't be on the list. But I'm just looking at stuff like this, and it doesn't make any sense. Kirk Cousins ahead of Wentz. Thought you were a Vikings fan first. Vikings fan? Come on, man. If I bet him, I'm a Vikings fan, but certainly not a Vikings fan. But it's great. And the reason I say, well, what do you even care about this? It at least gets me back to talk a little bit of football here. It just does. Look, Christian McCaffrey coming at 6. He's a badass, man, isn't he? I mean, Aaron Rodgers is 16. Think about this. Like, Aaron Rodgers is 16, Brady's 14. You tell me right now, if Aaron Rodgers went down to Tampa Bay with those type of weapons, what's he throw for? 5,000 yards, 60 touchdowns? He's a way better football player. Certainly even at this stage. Maybe obviously not career-wise, but right now, Aaron Rodgers is supremely better than Tom Brady. And I'll take him over Drew Brees. So we're trying to tell you in this thing, number 10 is Derrick Henry. But then Aaron Rodgers is 16? Look, football players generally are very smart, and they have to be smart. They don't get a lot of credit. We don't realize how much knowledge you have to to be an offensive lineman, a center, a quarterback. You know, I was a wide receiver. All we have to do is remember what the play is, even though there's like 500 plays. But look at the coverage. Cover 2, cover 3, cover 1, man press. We understand what that is as wide receivers. You know, defense is a little bit dumber. You have to remember what the twists and the stunts are on the defensive line, but you're more reactionary. Middle linebacker like Luke Kuechly is just outrageously smart. Outrageously smart dude, can call like your plays out. He's as good as it gets. But on defense, you don't really have to be as smart as like an offensive lineman, knowing how all that stuff is. That's crazy. But I just wanted to bring that up and have a little bit of fun and go over and be like, this list doesn't make any sense. Now, we're going to keep it with the NFL here. NFL opt-out list continues to grow. Damian Williams, running back for the Chiefs, opted out yesterday. But also even bigger news here in the East is Nate Solder, the starting left tackle for the New York Giants. He opted out as well. That hurts them. And as an Eagles fan, I like to see it. Now, COVID-19 attacked the Philadelphia Eagles by taking down Lane Johnson, but it says he's asymptomatic, just going to have to clear a few hurdles, and he'll be right back at it, which, again, is 99.99999% of the NFL. If they get COVID, they'll be fine. They'll be back in 14 days. It's not a big deal. You just want to have it to try to avoid giving it to a older head coach or older staff member that you have. But the players are going to be fine. And as long as you limit the outbreak, there's enough players that you can certainly get on. But the one thing I'm waiting on here is this opt-out list continues to grow, because you can't make a comeback and you can't lead a football. This is a cold world that we live in, especially in sports and NFL specifically. If you are a top, let's just say, 20 quarterback in the NFL, you're probably making a lot of money, but you're the lifeblood of that organization. The organization really is only going to go as far as you take them. And if we look at, you know, the Dak Prescotts of the world, the Carson Wentz's, Aaron Rodgers, and yes, we even include like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, those type of quarterbacks where you live and die, and they're going to carry your team as far as you're going to go, maybe to a lesser extent now. Drew Brees getting a little bit older, where they're trying to work in Taysom Hill. But you get the drift of where I'm going here. Can you imagine, and I'm going to talk about this from the Philadelphia fan perspective. Now, Nick Foles is, you know, obviously a god in the town because he brought us the Super Bowl championship, nowhere near the quarterback talent or even nearly as good as Carson Wentz, but he delivered a Super Bowl. He's always going to have a special place in Philadelphia. Donovan McNabb, to a lesser extent, played really well here from about 99 to about, 2008, then just fell off the map and doesn't live here anymore, and nobody ever got Donovan McNabb in the city of Philadelphia. But just looking at Carson Wentz, can you imagine, right? We're going into a season, and it's basically relying on how well Carson Wentz plays because he's your quarterback. If a top-level quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, Carson Wentz, Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers again, opts out of this season, even though like we see other guys like, hey, that's his decision, running back, that's his decision, linebacker for, the New England Patriots, Nate Solder, that's his decision. I mean, left tackle is a pretty important position. I think you're blocking the quarterback's backside. And especially if you have a young quarterback like Daniel Jones, that's going to be an important position that they really can't afford to miss. But having said that, this is interesting because if he says Carson Wentz, look, I have and he has a young child, and I think they're expecting their second child. I'm not sure. Maybe Bryce Harper's got the 2 kids, but I know he does have a pregnant wife and I believe, had a baby. If he opts out on the season, there's no coming back for Carson Wentz on this. And as the cold, hard reality fact, he will get annihilated from the public, or at least the Eagles fans. But that's the world that you try to live in here. That's just what it is. If he came out today and said, hey, look, I don't think it's safe here. As nice a guy as he is, and all the stuff that he does off the field, he's a great guy. He could never come back from that. He'd be like, wait, so basically we just threw our entire football season down the drain because of you. Now, that doesn't happen if Jason Peters doesn't want to play. If, Lane Johnson just got COVID-19, says, you know what, I'm not risking this anymore. I'm sitting this one out. I don't know where my health conditions are going to be. Fletcher Cox, even though we'd be furious, $100 million player doesn't want to play, we would be mad at that as well. But you could see, because as long as we got Wentz, you got a shot here in this spot. But top-level quarterbacks, they can't opt out. Like, all right, David Price opted out. Buster Posey opted out. It's a difference because the quarterback in the NFL, your entire organization and city relies on them primarily. And if they opted out and like, dude, I'm not going to play this year and you guys can go on and have good luck, they can't come back from that. And that's just a cold, hard fact and just a reality from it. So when we're talking NFL here, keep your eyes open on the next 7 to 14 days to see who's in and who's out. A lot of these players can't afford to sit out, which is a reality also. Right? Say, hey, look, I might, risk getting this COVID-19, but I got to go out and make a paycheck like 99% of the world does have to do. So I can respect that. But just from a quarterback perspective, they're on the hot seat, man. They cannot do it. Pause for station identification. Does that sound good? Pause for station identification, even though we're not pausing for station identification. Shout out to the good people at SBR. I do shows with them. I'm going to do a huge football show with my buddy Kyle Provine, so I see he's in the chat box here, DFX Bachelor. We're going to have a great NFL football season, doing big things right now. Also with Jason Radowitz, we do an NBA show. NBA is kicking off, by the way. And Major League Baseball show every day at 1:30. So shout out to good people at SBR. We'll be back in 30 seconds here, and we're going to hit that Major League Baseball card and set the table for today, folks. Hey guys, Donnie here with SportsBookReview.com, the single best place on the internet for video and also written sports content. You see me do a lot of videos on our YouTube channel at SBR Sports Picks, bringing you all the latest up-to-date information. And also, if you want to win at sports betting, it's always important to get the best lines possible. So check out SBRodds.com, SportsBookReview.com. Hey, boys, back here, right back at it. You see the tag in the back, rightwager.com, but this is Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by rightwager.com. And just trying to go over some Major League Baseball. As you see, a quick recap from yesterday. I was feeling them Brewers, but it wasn't able to cash that ticket in as I hoped to yesterday. And I don't know what's going on. I honestly don't know what's going on with Christian Yelich. Like 1 for 90 to start the season, makes all that money, MVP, candidate again. And I just needed a little knock into the outfield, like a 240-foot fly ball. Would have been able to score a run. Sucks that somebody gets thrown out at the plate. But anyway, needed the over 4.5 yesterday on the show play. We didn't get that. They only won 3-0 in that one. And I actually should have just went out there and said, you know what? Let's keep it simple, stupid. 2 straight nights on the Cubs. I don't want to do that. Now I know somebody, I don't even know if they're lurking in the chat box here. You have a little bit of fun. You say, shoot, glad we stayed away from the Cubs because they were down like 9-0 in like the 6th inning. But obviously, late inning magic, they did put up the required number to hit their 4.5. So maybe I should have stayed with what actually worked in that realm. But take a look at the card today. Let's bring up, and again, let me know if I go silent here because I'm just trying to make sure that I'm not hitting the wrong button. But I think I have everything worked out from yesterday, as if when I bring up the information at the bottom. So let me flip this over here and we can go back to the NBA, get to Major League Baseball today. I wish there was a little bit more day games, but hey, if they're going to give us a 4:00 game, the home team, Toronto Blue Jays, that are playing in Washington. Yes, that is correct. Just updated the pitching stats. So Fetty is going to go against Ryu in that baseball game. But before that, I'm always interested in the Central here, to be honest. I really am. You got Chicago Cubs and the Cincinnati Reds Darvish and Castillo on the mound today. You would have thought you would have gotten a great pitching matchup yesterday. Sonny Gray did his part early in the game, but Hendricks certainly did not do his job, putting up damn near close to 20 runs in that ball game. But today, Darvish and Castillo are going to take the mound. Look at that, 9 out of every 10 tickets coming in currently right now on Cincinnati. But look at the line. And again, I follow the line a lot more early in the season than later in the season because I like to say we really don't know what's going to take place. So when you see a line driving this, maybe somebody has like, hey, this guy's going to sit out of the lineup today, or maybe the pitcher's only scheduled to go 5 innings and you know that ahead of time. But take a look at that, though. Pinnacle opens up at minus 130. They now sit at minus 110. Chris opens up at minus 145. That sits at 112 now. So a huge drop. And also in a series, even though you're getting theoretically 2 good pitchers, this line opens up at Pinnacle at 9, opens up at Chris at 9, now sits at 8.5 in a series where they're just putting up a ton of runs. So if we move it down, that second game, which actually is the first game technically of the day, just the second overall here on the rotation, you got Fedde and Ryu on the mound, 7 out of 10 tickets coming in on Toronto here, and the line moving appropriately in the right direction. How about yesterday, 0-0 game where the Washington Nationals end up winning, but you had the young kids pitch really well for the Toronto Blue Jays. And obviously, you got your bounce back Max Scherzer effort that you expected after a tough night opening night. Had a ton of strikeouts, but gave up a couple runs, but he was back to form in his home ballpark as the road pitcher yesterday. This one opens up at 135, now stretching to 145. Chris opened up at 131, now stretching to 145. So that one with some money, and it makes sense. This one, look, again, first game of the day, 92% of the tickets coming in and 84% of the money. That's driving it lower. So obviously looking at some sharp advantages for the Chicago Cubs with those bats to try to keep them in it. But hey, Cincinnati didn't look too bad at the plate yesterday. But this one, 77% of the tickets coming in, and you got a 135 and a 145, 131 and a 145. That shows the money ripping and running in the right direction. Singer and Nova. I don't know, did that game go over? Yes, I don't have the numbers up. Actually, you know what? I think I could flip back right here. Hold on. Let's take a look here. Where's that Kansas City game? Kansas City 5-4. And that game, actually, look at that. 9.5 across the board. So that game did not go over. And we'll flip it back today. Singer and Nova, not great pitchers here. If you follow Ivan Nova, not a big strikeout guy. He's going to pound the strike zone. Doesn't have a ton of stuff, but look at the early betting action. 9.5 of every 10 tickets coming in currently on the Kansas City Royals. And if we take a look, the line is going in the right direction. Opened up at Pinnacle offshore at minus 108, goes to 130. Chris opened up at minus 112. That now sits at minus 135. And a lot of times you'll see me using Pinnacle and also Chris here, looking at the opening lines and what they have. The two sharper books out there in the business. But I do use 5 Dimes. I have an active 5 Dimes account. They sit at 133. And I love the New Jersey books, as I call them. Even though Sugar House is rebranded as River, it still says Sugar House on this application, FanDuel, and also DraftKings. And there's some wild things. And we can't stress it enough when you need to shop around and get the best lines possible, because the simple fact is when you are betting, there's a lot of books. It used to be like, hey, I only have one book or a local. I'm not getting really good lines. You theoretically can have like 5 or 6, especially here in New Jersey. We're lucky to have dozens of books that we can get into. And certainly which applies, which if you didn't watch the beginning of the show again, FanDuel having that special where it's only $50 is the max you can bet, but you can literally be getting an extra 20 points in a ball game and try to pick something up. So more options, the better for us. Yarborough and Freed battle of lefties here in Atlanta. Atlanta picked up the win last night. Freddie Freeman woke up. That line sits at 125, or opened at 125, now sits at 136, 130 to 140 here. So line going in the right direction for them. Boston and the New York Mets. Boston fresh off a win over DeGrom. That line yesterday was closing around like minus 190, minus 200 in the favor for the New York Mets. And that snaps off. But today we got 8 out of 10 tickets coming in on the Mets. And, look, Perez stinks, just journeyman guy. Steven Matz has the ability to pitch well. But do you really want to lay some numbers on here? Look at how Chris opened up at minus 170 for the New York Mets. Now sitting at minus 152. Isn't that crazy? Crazy talk out here. But look, you're expecting some runs. You're opened up at 9, now at 9.5. And I'll check out some weather conditions a little bit later. Great pitching matchup here in the Central. 2 really good baseball teams. Cleveland and Minnesota. Bieber and Berrios. Bieber was sensational opening day. We know what Berrios can do. How about this? 6 out of every 10 tickets coming in on Cleveland in this one. And look at Cleveland opened up minus 110, minus 115. But those bats, it's so hard to keep away from those bats, man. How do you keep away from the bats of the Minnesota Twins? It's almost like if you get a solid pitching performance, you can really take off with the Twins. And even though Bieber was awesome in his opening day start, Look at the reversal here. 109, the minus 115 the opposite way. 115 at Chris to 121 the opposite way. Total opened up at 8.5. Looks like that's going to stay across the board. Good luck betting against the Dodgers. And they could just roll any pitcher they want at you and have that dominant lineup. 7 out of every 10 tickets coming in here against Arizona. But that line opened up. Look at this. Reverse line movement here also. Opened up at 150 at Pinnacle. Now sits at 142. Opened up at Chris, 155. That now sits at minus 147. Yeah, DFS Bachelor. Eddie Rosario dongs tonight. Could be possible here. Little Bundy action moving from Baltimore out to the Angels. How about this series popping off? Two teams really getting after it at the plate. Gonzalez is that sloppy lefty with that creative, slow curveball, give me the outside corner type pitcher. 8 out of 10 tickets coming in on the Angels. But damn, Dylan Bundy, 200? Heesh. It's a hell of a start. Dinelson Lamet versus Kevin Gausman. Look at it. Look at it. Bundy and Gausman, man. Why don't we just have a party like it was back in the day in Baltimore? And they got happy means tonight. I know my man Jason went with the team total on the New York Yankees yesterday. I stayed off it just because they had a couple of days off. Didn't know what was going to technically take place. But obviously, man, big fly balls in the Yankees. It's what they do. Should have probably just, stuck to what worked on that end of it and just stayed with it all along. But some good stuff today in Major League Baseball. I want to thank you guys once again for tuning in. If you haven't done so yet, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. Let's get to 1,000. Then let's get to 5,000 and 10,000. We're going to be here. We do it every day, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m., bringing you the best, getting you set. I'll be back on the air on sportsbookreview.com at 1:30 doing a Major League Baseball show with Jason Radowitz, see if we can pick out some winners and certainly cap today's card. But again, good luck to you guys out there if you're, going to let it rock and just hit off in the NBA. Like, just get off in the NBA tonight. That's what I'm looking forward to. And again, see if I can pick up a free $50 on that. I do want to thank you guys once again for tuning in. Sports Betting Donnie, presented by RightWager.com. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Join me again, 11 a.m.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Sports Betting with Donnie, presented by RightWager.com.